I got a band 9 twice in IELTS listening. When I started practicing, I had problems finding the correct answers, but then I developed a listening strategy, which made me score band 9 twice. If you want to improve your IELTS listening score fast, this video is for you. I give you 10 tips for IELTS listening to improve your score immediately. By the end of this video, you will understand how to apply these tips to score high. By the way, guys, if you're going to take your IELTS soon, check out my IELTS materials. There, I teach you everything you need to score high. I show you step by step how to give high scoring answers. And of course, we do many practice tests together, so you will feel confident for your test. You can find the link in the description. And now, let's get started. Let's start with one of the most important points. Guys, the IELTS listening test is hard. Lots of IELTS test takers score low because they're surprised about the test structure. They just don't know what to expect, and then they're not prepared for what they have to do. It's super important that you know what IELTS listening is like. If you don't, it's impossible to get a high score. In IELTS listening, you hear 4 different listening passages and answer a total of 40 questions. There are a lot of different question types on the listening test. You don't just have multiple choice questions. You also have to fill in blanks, match ideas, and label charts. The speakers have a range of accents, though they do usually speak a bit slower and pay attention to pronunciation more than native speakers in conversation with each other. Now comes what is probably one of the biggest problems for many test takers. You only hear each passage once. If you miss a point, you can't go back and listen again. That means you really have to pay attention. The next point is one of my favorite tricks for IELTS listening. I always use this trick when taking the listening test, and it always works. The great thing about listening is that you can see all the questions before the listening passage is over, and you can use that to your advantage. What am I talking about? Reading one question ahead. That's an easy way to make sure that you don't miss an answer. When I started practicing for IELTS listening, one of my biggest problems was that I sometimes missed an answer because I wasn't aware that the speakers were talking about this. And when I realized I had missed the answer, the speakers had already moved on. But when I started to read ahead, this didn't happen anymore. So now I always skim over the questions so that I know what type of answer to listen to. I keep reading one question ahead of where I am in the listening so that I know when it's time to move on. This way I make sure that I don't miss an answer. Now, let's have a look at a trap many IELTS test takers fall into. The IELTS doesn't always use the exact words that are written in the questions. There will be paraphrasing in the sentences around the words you need to write down. In particular, you will find paraphrasing in the true-false questions and the multiple choice ones. The IELTS does this to test whether you understand what's going on in the recording. You must be aware of that because this helps you understand what to listen for and so makes it easier for you to find the correct answers. Here's another problem that will lower your score: focusing too much on one question. If you don't hear the answer and get worried, you might miss the flow for the rest of the test. That's a big problem because you don't just miss one question, but you end up making mistakes on the entire second half of the passage. You can fix that problem by reading ahead. If you see that the next question is answered, then skip over the one giving you problems. You can go back to it at the end, and hopefully you will have enough additional information to answer it. Don't worry if you miss one question. You can still reach a band 9. Therefore, it's really important to move on rather than worry too much about one question. Guys, if you find this video helpful, do me a favor and hit the like button. It means a lot to me. Also, comment down below whether you find IELTS listening easy or difficult. I would love to know how you feel about it. Now, let's have a look at 6 more tips to improve your IELTS listening score immediately. Next, there is a trap that the IELTS examiners create to check whether you actually understand what is going on in the recording. Don't fall into this trap, guys. What am I talking about? Revisions. Let me give an example. The question is, when is the concert? You hear the speaker say, I'm looking forward to the concert on Saturday. So you write down Saturday on the answer sheet. But the next speaker asks, Saturday? I thought it was on Sunday. The first speaker responds, wait, you're right. I have baseball on Saturday. The concert is the next day. So initially it seemed as if the correct answer is Saturday, but actually it's Sunday. The IELTS does this very often to make sure you're paying attention. This separates higher band scores from lower levels. So the takeaway is this, guys. Listen to the whole passage rather than just assume you know what the answer is. Tip number 6 is extremely important. If you don't do this, your score will go down, and that's a pity because it's so easy to avoid. Even if you don't know the answer, fill all blanks. So if you are not sure about the answer, go back at the end and add an answer that sounds good. Eliminate other options in a multiple choice question and pick the best of 2 that you can't decide between. You may get the answer wrong. However, it at least gives you a better chance of boosting your score than leaving the blank empty does. The next tip is crucial for getting a high score on IELTS listening. Some blanks have different word counts. The instructions might say no more than 2 words or 2 or 3 words. Guys, you must count the number of words to make sure you put the correct number into your answer. If you don't follow the instructions, the answer is wrong, even if you listen correctly. It's really frustrating when this happens because here you really lose points for nothing. So make sure you pay attention to the instructions and that you know how to count letters and numbers in IELTS listening. The IELTS count words and numbers in a specific way, which is quite tricky. If you don't know how to do this, check out my video about how to count words and numbers. In this video, I show you how to do this, and you get many practice questions so you are confident on test day. You can find the link to the video in the description. What comes now sounds boring, but is essential. Before you take your IELTS listening test, you must practice listening. The reason is this. The speakers are not just from one country. You will hear accents from the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. And yes, the speakers sound different. Therefore, you must get used to different pronunciation so you understand what's going on when taking the test. The best way is to practice listening. Listen to English as much as possible. Watch videos on YouTube or listen to podcasts made by people from different countries. Go ahead and listen to topics of interest to you. You will get better at hearing different accents and can have fun at the same time. Now, let's check out the next point. Sometimes it's hard to concentrate on what the speakers are talking about. If you ask yourself a few questions, it gets you to focus on and helps you understand the passage better. At the start of each passage, there is a little introduction that says what is happening. For example, 2 people are discussing a homework assignment. Use that as the key for asking questions. Who is talking? Are they enjoying the assignment or not? If you ask a few questions at the start, you are more prepared to understand viewpoints and other general ideas about the speakers and what they are saying. If you find your mind wandering, ask a question to bring yourself back to the topic. It's important to focus on the test. Lastly, this is also about focusing. Many IELTS students think that studying hard is the only thing that's important when taking the IELTS, and in particular, the IELTS listening test. Guys, don't forget that you need to be physically ready too. IELTS listening is challenging. If you are tired or hungry, you won't do your best. Therefore, sleep well the night before and get some rest before the test. Eat a healthy meal and drink plenty of water. Don't forget to wear comfortable clothes too. It's not a fashion contest, so you don't need to feel itchy, too hot or too cold. You don't want your clothes to distract you. By preparing physically as well as mentally, you will be able to concentrate about the topics rather than about how you feel. That's super important for getting a high score. That's it. That's 10 tips for IELTS listening to improve your score immediately. I hope you guys liked this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, share this video with your friends so they can improve their IELTS score too. See you in the next video.